from WBBZ-TV Sports. It's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Beat the Champ. It is our third week of competition here at Manor Lanes II in Amherst. And Sue, I think when you look back at our first 2 weeks and see we had a 300 in our first week, a 278 in our second week, scoring has been pretty impressive here.
Yeah, these lanes are really conducive to high scores, so who knows if we might see another one. But we've got some new faces, people not so familiar with Beat the Champ, so it'll be a challenge.
Andy Rettig is our returning champion from last week. The three challengers lined up for today include Josh Nowak, Jayson Schubbe, and Jeremy Zimmerman, all of them relatively inexperienced on the show. So I don't know what to tell you to expect at this point, Janelle.
I never know what to expect with this show, but all I know it's going to be a great time, going to have a lot of high energy, good scores. I'm excited.
Yeah, we've had great scores so far. We figure that will continue today, but let's find out. It is time to get rolling. Our first match of the day features our defending champion, Andy Rettig, taking on Josh Nowak. Week 3 here at Manor Lanes II. Match number 1, Andy Rettig coming off an impressive 278 score that he posted in a win over John Masiello, and Andy had an incredible run in that. Just had a I think opened with 6 consecutive strikes, had a spare, and then rattled off a bunch of strikes after that. So Andy's bowling well. He is hot, and look at him stay hot. And there's the first frame throw for Andy Rettig, 45 years old, from Hamburg, New York. At Beat the Champ TV on Twitter, hashtag Beat the Champ, or always like us at our Beat the Champ Facebook page for all of the latest updates on qualifying, all of the latest dates for our next round of qualifying at Brad Angelo Lanes, and all the latest developments and chit chat about Beat the Champ available on our social media sites. And we welcome in one of our favorite special guests here. You are the reigning most popular special guest, Jim Russo.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, well, I think that's maybe because you own more bowling centers around Western New York than anybody else. So when we have the owners on, it always seems to be you, right? Well, but yeah, we love you, Jim, and thanks for coming on. Of course, Jim, the proprietor here at Manor Lanes II. So Jim's going to provide us some expert commentary throughout our match here.
Glad to be back with you guys. This is our second time around. The last time we only had like 4 or 5 shows that we had done. So we were in our infant stages, and now look at us, we're an established entity.
There you go. I don't know how that all happened. How do we become established? But yes, it feels good to be an established entity, as you said, as we are headed towards a year and a half on the air here with Beat the Champ. You saw a good start there for Josh Nowak on his first throw, and Josh is going to bring some power and speed to Manor Lanes II here.
I consider Josh a good friend, but if I had 64 bowlers in a league like Josh, we'd have to buy pins every other week.
And you'd have to raise the scoring units.
And raise the ceiling a little,
And reinforce the back of the lanes there as well too. So, yeah. So as you said, Jim, the long and short of our first match here is 6'7" Josh Nowak against Andy Rettig, who's probably 5'6" or so. So we've got a foot difference in height. Let's see if that has anything to do with their bowling skills.
And again, it's the beauty of bowling. It doesn't make any difference what size, shape, gender. Everybody can do it, and everybody can do it at a high level.
Absolutely. So what'd you do to these lanes to make them so high scoring? Wow.
Well, I'm going to guess that we're going to get a lot of heat because the scores are so big. And the first thing that people say is that the lanes were kind of walled up and favorable to scoring. But what they have to remember is during the course of the year, we don't have any scratch leagues here. So what we put out there is exactly what we put out there every week, week in and week out for the last 33 weeks. So, but we don't have this caliber of bowler bowling in the center.
Right.
Now, if we had, we might have had to do something to tame them down a little bit because the Tonawanda Bowling Association would be after us because they're giving out too many awards.
Right, exactly. Hey, you know what? And I get it, and Sue has told me that high scores are not always what everybody always wants to see, but it's sure been a lot of fun for us.
Right.
You know, to have our first 300 perfect game, which we did 2 weeks ago from Mike D'Amico, was certainly a moment on Beat the Champ that we've all been waiting for, and to have it happen here at Manor Lanes 2 means the plaque should be hanging up here soon enough, right?
We might get one. Yeah, we're thrilled with the way it turned out.
Well, Josh Nowak
got a little wide.
Yeah,
there.
never got too wide, could never get that to break back in. And this is Josh's debut here on Beat the Champ. You have seen him before earlier in the year up at the Rapids Bowling Center. He was part of our fourth show, our exhibition show, where it was a pro shop challenge. So we've had a chance to see Josh bowl before, but this is his first legitimate competition debut for the 31-year-old from Niagara Falls.
There, he made the spare. Josh is really an intense competitor. You look at him, he looks like he's ready to kill somebody every time you look. And every time I walk by him, I tell him, Josh, you got to lighten up a little bit. You got to loosen up. But nobody tries harder than him. He, I think, out of the 13 or 14 squads that we had, I'll bet you he was in about 10 of them. And he finally made it on, I think, the second last squad. So.
And you can see the intensity and the look on the face of Josh Nowak, and
Great shot.
that's 3 strikes in the first 4 frames for Josh. So,
You know,
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Hi, Joshua.
Hi.
When was the last time that we saw you here on Beat the Champ?
When they had the Pro Shop Challenge.
And how did you do in that?
I lost to Mike Malwitz by a couple of pins. He still tells me about it to this day.
All right, well, you're here and he's not, so we're going to expect to see good things out of you, and you're going to give that right back at him.
I will, hopefully.
All right, well, good luck today.
Thanks, Sue.
31 years old from Niagara Falls, works at the National Bowling Center, so obviously National Bowling Store rather, and bowling is in his profession and in his life, and he is the 2004 Niagara Falls City Champion and has developed a nice game and a nice following up in Niagara County. And like we said, even though it's his first appearance, full appearance, true appearance here on Beat the Champ, he is one of the bright, young, up-and-coming bowlers here in Western New York.
there you go. Well, Josh has always been a good bowler, but now working in the National Bowling Store, he gets another perspective on the sport where he learns how to drill equipment, what different equipment does, and now he's become a monster out there.
Right.
Now he's gone from being a very good bowler to a terrific bowler, and as a little issue with emotion sometime, and as soon as he gets that under control, there's not going to be any stopping him.
We touched on that a little bit when we talked to Karen about technology and technology changing the sport. But to know bowling balls and know equipment and to know the equipment as it comes out and what it does and gives you a kind of heads-up advantage.
There's got to be a reason why your better bowlers walk in here with 6, 7, 8 bowling balls. We have a junior bowler who we'll see on our next show, Jared Farr, who the other day coming into practice walked in here with 7 or 8 bowling balls. And I said, Jared, really? You need that many balls? And I guess he does.
Well, and then that leads you to one of the skills that needs to be developed is knowing which ball to use at which circumstance and which situation. You can have 7 of them in your bag, but if you don't know to use the right one at the right time, it doesn't really make any difference.
Exactly.
That was a big ball for Andy.
And Andy's, that's a 2 back-to-back sort of single pin throws there that may be putting him too far behind.
You know, one of the practice techniques, back to all the bowling balls that Jack taught me, was to come out with all of your equipment and not pick the one that rolls the best, but to try to bowl your highest score with each ball, which would move you around the lane. And you know, that might not be what you'd pick in competition, but it made you a sharper bowler because some balls you had to make better shots because they didn't read the lane the right way. So it's another practice technique to maybe not look for your best shot, but maybe learn how to make better shots.
It's all putting that experience in your arsenal. You know, the more opportunities you get to bowl on a different condition, you finally figure out what ball to use on that condition, and the next time you see it, you're more prepared.
Ninth frame for Josh Nowak, and that 10-pin would just not go down. It got the bump from the pin sliding over, but it would not fall. So the streak of 5 strikes in a row for Josh Nowak will come to an end, but still an opportunity for him to build on his lead. And there you get a look at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. As we come down the stretch here, Reddig versus Nowak. Oh, and that could be a crucial miss for Josh Nowak.
Well, he cannot shut Andy out now, so Andy's fate will be in his own hands. And
here's a little bit of the emotion part you're talking about too, Jim. How do you forget that and put it out of your head?
well, you just have to, because you can't get it back, and that's the toughest part for us bowlers.
It's just like a quarterback throw an interception. You got to get back out there and, you know, forget about it.
Boy, he really skirted with the right edge on that one, and then as you could see, too far right, missed the head pin and leaves the 2.
Well, he's got, part of his power is generated obviously by, he's a big guy and he's strong, but he stands far back on the approach and he generates a lot with his feet. In that case, his feet, he has to watch his feet because they can get fast. And when your feet get fast, ball kind of loses it to the right a little bit, which is what happened. He got a little quick.
Get a little fast, you get ahead of the ball just a little bit, and that's what causes it to sail out to the right.
And I think that's one of the biggest things after missing a spare or having a shot that didn't work out quite the way you expected it to, is to keep your tempo down the very next shot, because your tendency is to get fast.
One more to finish it off for Josh Nowak.
And there he's
Not the result he was looking for, so it remains in the hands of Andy Rettig to pull a second consecutive win as the 234 score is posted for Josh Nowak. So, Sue, what does Andy need to do here?
Well, he wants to get as many pins as possible. He'd rather strike, but 6 spare strike will do it. There's a lot of combinations, but he wants to get at least 7 pins on his first ball just to make it.
Andy looking for his 5th Beat the Champ victory in his 5th show appearance. And looking for 2 in a row. And he'll get 9 pins on the first throw. Murmur in the crowd here, wondering exactly what that's going to do to this match.
Everybody's doing the math.
Strike, he needs a spare and 7.
Spare and 7 for Andy Rettig to move on. So we'll start with the spare. Will he get it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So one more throw, finishing off the 10th frame, 7 pins to win. And it's a winner. Andy Rettig with the strike to end it and close it out and come up with the 238 to 234 win. It's 2 in a row for Andy Rettig with a win over Josh Nowak. We'll get Josh's take on this and preview our next match when Jim and Sue and myself return. You're watching Beat the Champ from Manor Lanes II in Amherst. Well, there's not much for me to say to you, Josh, after a 4-pin loss, which is what happened here, and you were on a roll early and hit a little bump there towards the end of the match, but that's just the breaks of bowling, isn't it?
Yeah, I blew it when I missed the 10-pin. Should have made it. it's my own fault. Nobody else to blame.
You know, this is your second appearance on the show, first in the competition leg of things. How did you feel just about being a part of this and being having a chance to bowl on the show like this?
I love the show. You know, I come out every month. Just wish I could have made a little run. That's all. But overall, great experience.
All right, well, good. That's good to hear. Jim, try to make it a little better experience.
We have a little consolation for you. I know it isn't as much as you've invested into it, but you're getting better and better. Sue and I were talking, and you put a little more experience into that pouch, and you're going to be tougher and tougher every single time.
Yep. Thanks, Jim.
All right, well, nice comments from Jim. Josh, good luck. I know we're going to see you soon enough. Andy Rettig's got another match to try to keep his winning streak alive. We get you ready for that one, and we'll have it for you when Beat the Champ returns to Manor Lanes II.
Jayson, new face to Beat the Champ. Tell us what brought you here and your road to the TV show.
My father was on Beat the Champ on the original show, and that definitely gave me the motivation to come out here once I found it was back.
What's your dad's name?
Jack.
And he bowled out of what area?
He bowled out of Buffalo.
All right, so you're here to. Did he have any titles?
He won 2.
And so you're going to try to take that on and maybe go a little step further.
The plan is to get to 3.
Okay, well, good luck to you today.
Thank you.
Match number 2 is Andy Rettig looking for his 3rd win. The challenger making his Beat the Champ debut is Jayson Schubbe from Alden. We'll talk more about Jayson in a moment, but Andy Rettig from Hamburg will start things off here, coming off the 238 to 234 win over Josh Noak, and then of course last week the 278 to 226 victory over John Masiello. So Andy Rettig just steady as can be. The lefty taking advantage of not a lot of lefties on this month's show, utilizing that side of the lane to find a nice little groove for himself.
Absolutely. He got a little slow on that shot, though. He came out of it a little bit soft, and as a result, the ball finished a little bit harder than the last ones have. It's usually been sitting right in the pocket, but that one, as you saw, went a little bit high, and he left the 4-7.
He switched balls, too. I think that the condition is pushing him in a little bit because his area is drying up, so the ball that he was using tends to go too long when you get the oil, so I think he's kind of testing it out with a little more surface to get a little bit more into that oil.
Again, what we talked about in the last match, maybe turning to something not as aggressive,
right?
So that ball doesn't finish.
Or something that reads
hard.
the lane a little sooner, because if it retains too much energy and hits that dry, it's going to go. You know, we know what the result's going to be.
First look at 34-year-old Jayson Schubbe of Alden. Full-time profession in IT at ECMC, making his Beat the Champ debut. Got a good cheering section on hand to lead him on as well, too, and a good opening frame strike for Jayson Schubbe as we get our first look at him.
Jason's dad, Jack, very good bowler, was on Beat the Champ in its first run years and years ago.
1983 to 1986. Jack made 6 different shows. And Jayson says seeing his dad on those shows and hearing about it was what inspired him to want to be on this show, or this current version of Beat the Champ.
And he's starting off on the right foot, that's for sure.
Yep. Yeah, we got some, I think one of the things that jumped out at me from the whole lineup of bowlers here at Manor 2 during this week's qualifying was we got some new names here. We had, I think, 4 bowlers make their debuts, which is always great. Gets a chance for all of us to see some of the bright young talents around Western New York.
I guess some of the names that we're familiar with, like the Matty Z, I guess he's got a finger injury. From what I understand, that prevented him from
Matt
qualifying.
Zazowski, who's always a regular, it seems, right?
Right, and then Tony Dolan was out of town this past weekend. So some of the regulars didn't even qualify or didn't even try to qualify, much less not make the show.
Yeah, which again, you know, we love to see the guys that everybody, you know, is used to seeing, the familiar names, but it's always nice to get some new names. And that's always a fun part about this show as well, too. And again, the unpredictability of it is qualifying over a period of a couple of weeks, and then you got to post a good number, then you got to win the roll-off. I mean, it is not easy to make this show.
And I'm not sure if people understand that when we do the qualifying, we move. Every game, we move to a different pair of lanes. So in this center, if you started on lanes 5 and 6, the second game, you'd be moving over to 9 and 10, and then finishing up on 13 and 14. So you've got pairs of lanes all across the house, and they all read differently. If they're under an air conditioning duct or they're near a side wall, everything changes the
Right,
condition.
and it matters who you follow. You could be following left-handers, and they could be altering the side of the lane you're on, whatever. I mean, there's so many variables when you move lanes that it makes it a fair competition.
And again, it always goes to what both of you have always talked very much about, is understanding the mental part of the game and knowing how to make the right adjustments at the right time. And I think that's a great point, Jim, that you know, that goes back to even making the TV show in order to make the right adjustments and play the mental game.
I love Josh, who was on the last match, but Josh is a perfect example of a negative self-prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
He always goes up there, always looking for, in my estimation, looking for something bad to happen. And as a result, something bad seems to happen.
We're going to be back with more Beat the Champ bowling action in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch. The bowling is at such a high level, particularly as you get down to the final 4 bowlers in the championship match as well. Jayson had been on a nice run of 4 in a row and hits a little bit of a bump in the road there.
Well, in the 7th frame, his timing fell off a little bit.
But he got lucky and still got a strike.
He got lucky, and the ball went to the other side, and he carried the strike. He turned around and apologized to Andy. And then he came back in this frame and left this wide open split.
Yeah, got a good cheering section on here. You saw his dad Jack in the previous shot. He's got his mom here, his grandparents all here cheering him on. Well, so it'll be an open here in the 8th for Jayson as he leaves 1 pin. And we mentioned that Jayson's dad, Jack, was a Beat the Champ bowler back in the 80s. Back in the original, there's Jack, the original incarnation of the show when bowlers were real men back then, right, Jim? When you had to win a whole 3-game series to move on.
Couldn't buy a hook in a box back then. You had to know what you were doing with that bowling ball.
Yeah, that was...
Couldn't buy a hook in a box. That's awesome.
Who said that?
That's awesome.
You know, and that's a little bit of the difference between then Beat the Champ and now Beat the Champ is the ability to get more bowlers on. Takes us to more of the 1-game approach as opposed to the series, but that certainly, and there's not a right or a wrong as far as what's the better test. It's just a different test.
Yeah, a lot of people moan and groan about technology, but the technology in every sport has improved all of the numbers. So, I mean, you can't really look at just bowling. You look at baseball, you look at the things they've done in football. Everything has improved the scoring.
Absolutely, just life in general.
And of course, we want to mention that we are in the middle of qualifying for next month's series of Beat the Champ shows at Brad Angela Lanes on Transit Road in Lockport. And don't forget, the top qualifier will win a brand new $500 valued brand new TV from Dirt Cheap TV. That goes to every top qualifier at every stop we make on Beat the Champ. But it still means you still got to bowl in that roll-off and still make the show, right?
Right.
And Brad and his wife, Michelle, I know are looking forward to hosting Beat the Champ. They have a strong connection with Brad's dad, Nin Angelo, longtime Beat the Champ icon. And they've actually replaced my son's center at Manor Lanes in our lineup of bowling centers. Mm-hmm. And my son Brian loves the show, big supporter of Beat the Champ, but he's doing volleyball, he's doing dodgeball. This year he has the Tonawanda City tournament, and he didn't feel that he could handle everything well. so he turned it on to somebody that he thinks is going to do a super job with it.
Well, and of course, one of the more prominent names in bowling here in Western New York. Talk about former Obenauer Masters champions and Brad Angelo. So that'll be a lot of fun. And again, as I have learned the significance of this show and the importance of this show, I would say 90% of the people that talk to you about this show, particularly if they're people that have been around this community for a little longer, inevitably bring up the name Nin Angelo. And Jim, maybe for people that don't know the significance of that, go ahead and give them the brief explanation as we come down the stretch in this very good match between Jayson and Andy.
Well, Nin Angelo was a bowler out of Lockport, pro bowler, just like Brad, and really paved the way in Western New York for a lot of the other professional bowlers that have come along. I think the Buffalo area has a bigger presence on the pro circuit than any other city across the country. I mean, we've had, going back with Tommy Baker and Tommy Harnish and Jimmy Schroeder, you can tell how old I am. I'm really going back. I haven't even gotten to the Jack Jureks and the Joe Chacones and who am I leaving out?
Ryan Simonelli.
Ryan Simonelli.
Yep, sure.
So we just have a ton of bowlers who have had success on the national level. Jack being, Brad Koszewski was Rookie of the Year one year. Brad was Rookie of the Year, Sportsmanship of the Year. So,
Yep.
I mean, we have a very strong presence nationally.
Right. And the Nin Angelo famous for the amazing run that he went on this show.
Absolutely.
So, boy, the wheels fell off a little bit here for Jayson Schubbe down the stretch, Sue, and for a while there he was pounding some pins, and he winds up with a 221, not maybe the score that he thought he would have when he rattled off 6 of his first 7 strikes.
Well, he attacked the lane in a way that was going to really make him have to be perfect with his shots, because they're over-under. If he kept it in, came up light. If he hit the dry too fast, it was going to snap up high. It was just a risky approach to the lane.
I think something may have happened. I don't know whether he was having problems with his sliding shoe, but his timing just seemed to go south from the 7th frame on. And I'm not sure why that was. Maybe we can ask him that when we talk to him after the match.
Sure. Now, Andy Rettig had rattled off 5 strikes in a row before he leaves the 7th pin that he pulls the spare on here.
Well, Andy's going to move on. He's got, 240 here. Again, another very good score. What we're used to seeing these high scores here.
Sure. It's going to be a win for Andy. Going to be his 3rd consecutive win, and he'll have a chance to sweep the week to wrap things up here in our next match against Jeremy Zimmerman. Again, slow and steady and solid, and that is how Andy Rettig is allowed to pump his fist there a little bit and put up a 248 to 221 win over Jayson Schubbe. So Andy is red hot. He's won 3 in a row, looking to make it 4. We'll talk to Jayson and ask him the question that Jim just brought up and get you ready for our final match when we return to Manor Lanes II. Well, Jayson, you were cruising along there, really knocking a lot of pins down, and then 7th, 8th frame, something happened. Jim and I talked a little bit about it. Give us an idea of what you think happened there.
7th frame, I definitely dropped the ball. Kind of lost my grip on the ball, and I was actually lucky to get it off my hand. After that, it seemed like I got a little bit of carry down on the oil, and I started leaving a couple of 10 pins.
Right. Well, first experience here on Beat the Champ, keeping the family tradition alive. Did you feel good about it?
I did, yeah. Definitely won't be the last.
All right. Well, there you go. Now, Jim, so that's a promise, huh?
Yeah, and before I give you this check, I'd just like to know, what effect did your dad, being such a great bowler, have effect on your bowling career?
Well, I definitely modeled my game after his. He very low on the approach, and like I said, I modeled my game after him.
Great. Well, you couldn't have had a better role model, right?
You got it.
There you go. Thank you.
All right, so Jayson Schubbe narrowly losing to Andy Rettig, and Jim is still singing. We'll try to put an end to that, but we'll take a break and we'll come back with our final match of the day, Andy Rettig and Jeremy Zimmerman. That is next.
I'm here with Jeremy Zimmerman. Not quite a familiar face on Beat the Champ, but probably see a lot more of them. Jeremy, not a lot of confidence in yourself. Tell us a little bit about the qualifier.
Well, we were way out of it after game one. I shot 246. I believe I was on 11th. Then I opened in the 10th frame of the second game to shoot 226. The third game we start strike, open. I made a stupid bet, which I lost to a lot of people. Had to strike out, and I made it by 4 pins.
So how many shows do you have to win to make up the money from the bet you lost?
At least 2.
All right, well, good luck today.
Thank you.
Final match of the day here at Manor Lanes II. Andy Rettig, our defending champion. You briefly saw his opponent, Jeremy Zimmerman. We'll talk about Jeremy in a moment, but Andy Rettig, who has won 3 in a row, and in the process of those 3 wins, Sue, has averaged 255. Again, the scores have been a little higher here, which is great, but 255 still 255. And Andy has bowled very well, looking to make it 4 in a row and a weekly sweep.
Well, make no mistake, he's had to adjust, so he's just done a good job all day long of making good choices.
And I think there's one thing that we've learned about seeing Andy now in his 5th different Beat the Champ show, that he is one of those guys who sort of understands what the challenges in front of him are and how he has to adjust his game a little bit. And you know, he's not the biggest, strongest, most powerful, doesn't throw at the fastest speed, but seems to be one of the smarter bowlers that we've seen here on this show.
And he hasn't made a lot of mistakes, and when he has, he's come right back and corrected them, which has been the key to his success.
3rd show appearance for Jeremy Zimmerman. Have not seen him since late in 2016 up at Malwitz's Island Lanes on Grand Island. Jeremy has not yet won here on Beat the Champ. 0-2 is the overall record. He was the final qualifier here at Manor Lanes II, so he gets this 3rd and final qualifying spot.
Good spare.
And a good spare to start things off for Jeremy Zimmerman, 34 years old, from Lockport.
And before we had Josh Nowak, the big show.
The big show, I like that.
Show,
good, very
Josh
good.
Nowak bowling against Andy. And now we face, we have Jeremy, who's got like the polar opposite is personalities from Andy.
He's exuberant. Is that safe to say?
He's exuberant. He is from the Mike Malwitz School of Bowling.
Oh no!
As a matter
you mean
of
there's
fact,
more than one graduate of the Mike Malwitz School?
I happen to know that. I happen to know that Jeremy bowls out at Island Lanes, and so maybe he caught something from Mike.
Oh boy! See,
probably not.
See,
a good
look
thing.
what's happened. We've got Malwitz churning out graduates of the Malwitz School now.
It's spreading.
It's spreading. Exactly.
Oh my goodness!
Ouch!
That got to the left.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So-
that's what we were talking about before. When that ball doesn't finish, it doesn't finish. It
Yeah.
just everything went sideways on him.
All right, so here's your 7-10 split, staring down Andy Rettig.
Haven't seen one of these made yet.
We have not. We have not. We finally got our first 300 game a couple of weeks ago here at Manor 2 when Mike D'Amico did it, but now at the top of the list of things we have yet to see here in a year and a half on Beat the Champ. 7-10 splits probably right up there, right?
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other bowling oddities that we have not experienced yet?
270.
I didn't say odd bowlers. I
273.
said bowling oddities.
Have we had any triplicates yet?
Any? Say that again.
Triplicates were the same score throughout the entire show.
No,
No.
When
we
a
have
bowler
not.
bowls 3 identical games, we call it a triplicate.
How often does that happen?
More often than you might
Really?
think. Yeah.
Like the exact same score in a series, the same score 3 times?
Yeah, there's an actual award for it.
You bowlers will give awards and nicknames out to anything, won't you?
That's right.
We try to make everybody feel good about themselves.
All right, well, there you go. So triplicates and the 7-10 split and anything else that we can come up with, we'll go to our list.
One of the oddest things I've ever seen, a friend of mine, Vic Talowski, bowls here in a league on Friday night, and it was the strangest thing you'll ever see in your life. He shot a 126 and then came back and threw a 300. And then the third game, everybody was joking, well, he'd probably throw a 126 again, and he did. So I think it's the lowest set I've ever seen with a 300 game involved.
spare for Jeremy Zimmerman here in the third frame. You know, I think back to, was it Matt Zazowski that caught himself, or Matt White, I think, that caught himself in mid-throw and his feet and his timing were off. I'm trying to think of some other odd things that we've seen or sort of interesting bowling moments that we've seen on the show. I know that's one that comes to mind.
That's amazing when people can do that, when they can pull themselves up and they've, you know, the momentum of the ball is already like in front of them.
Right. Well, Jeremy has kind of lost it. I don't know whether it's his focus. I'm not sure whether he's feeling a little pressure. You know, when you get on a show 4 or 5 times and you can't post a win, that has got to be playing games with your mind.
But he's also a big fan, and it means a lot to him to make the show.
Does.
So he puts a little added pressure on himself because he's so excited to get here.
Right.
He was like one of the first people here this morning, and you know, he was later. His show was later in the day, so that's a little added pressure you put on yourself when you're so excited to be here. And he's got to make a move, and he seems to want to stay where he is and not move, but he has to move because he's, you know, pulling it a little high.
Well, I know no matter what happens here, Jeremy will be the first to tell you that one of the best things he's ever done is have his son Mason. And whatever he takes away from today, whatever he takes away from bowling, he's got that gem in his trophy case.
Good for him.
And little Mason is a big part of his life, and I know he's going to bring that kid up to be a bowler, and we'll be seeing him here maybe 12, 15, 20 years down the road. What do you think, Paul?
Maybe not even, won't even take that long. 12, 15, right? Maybe not even take that long.
That's right.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
Even though Andy has had a couple of strikes, he's kind of muddled the way around here a little bit.
Well, that pocket 710 didn't help him.
Yeah, and
didn't help his case for sure.
Right. So now Jeremy has the advantage. Just can't get that 10 pin.
And Jeremy has chosen to use 2 different balls. He's using one ball on lane 6 and he's using a different ball on lane 5. So I've thought all along there was subtle differences between 5 and 6, and I think he just proved that point.
And don't forget, we talked about the qualifying that is going on this weekend at Brad Angelo Lanes. The top qualifier heading into the top 24 roll-off, whoever the top qualifier is, wins a free brand new television from Dirt Cheap TV, valued at $500. So there's another little more incentive for you to get out and do your best to try to qualify, along with making the show and hanging out with all of us, right?
Absolutely. And this month, Mike Mulwitz was our winner.
Right.
Tried to get him to donate that TV to our golf event.
Well, there you go.
We have our golf event on August 7th, and it's to raise money for our youth scholarship funds.
Oh, that's a tough one for Andy right there. That may be the determiner in this match now.
That didn't work out too well.
The 8th frame kind of falls apart a little there for Andy Rettig. Well, you keep putting the heat on Mulwitz there. I'll expect to see that as one of the prizes at the big golf outing.
We always have a big screen TV, but I kind of wanted him to donate his.
Whoa! What a spare pickup for Andy Rettig. That's got the place fired up. What a pickup. That was outstanding. No, speaking of things we haven't seen a whole lot of.
That was amazing. That's not one of the more routine ones to make.
I can't even be mad about that one. That was awesome.
Wow. Boy, I'll tell you, we have gotten our money's worth, at least the crowd has here at Manor Lanes II, from a 300 game to start things off to some incredible bowling since then, and shot making like that from Andy Rettig.
Yeah, I started talking about our golf event. I didn't want to leave you hanging there, but it's going to be at East Aurora Country Club this year.
What's the date on it, Jim?
August 7th, Monday, August 7th. We have a lot of great prizes, a lot of great golf, a lot of food and beverage.
Hey, and the chance to play East Aurora Country Club.
And guess
Western
what?
New Yorkers may know, home to the International Junior Masters and one of the nicest courses in Western New York.
And this year, Janelle is going to be on hand.
Ah, well.
That ought to bring them out.
There you go. That will definitely bring them out. Now, if anybody who's a serious golfer you know that East Aurora is a little challenging with the elevations there, correct?
Yes.
One time. Oh.
Big strike for Jeremy Zimmerman.
So Jeremy just needs a mark here to win this game.
Did you notice as soon as I started talking about Mason, his game picked up?
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
Part of the mental game.
Absolutely.
Throw your focus onto something else, and all of a sudden, the bowling got a lot better. I'm going to take credit for it.
Of course you will.
As well you should.
Of course you will.
This is your month.
Thanks.
Hey, it's your bowling house. You can take credit for wherever you want to. And you fed us lunch, so you know you're in.
There you go.
10th frame. Jeremy Zimmerman needs a mark to win. Gets it.
Oh.
You almost left the 4-9.
Almost.
And this is not the simplest of spares.
No.
You know how many bowlers miss the left-hand side of the lane? When you're coming across that lane, you get into a little bit of heavier oil, and the ball sometimes hangs up. So you got to be a little careful. You got to make sure you're being exact.
And a great spare pickup to get what he needed.
Six pins. 6 pins is what we need.
Need 6 pins? Gotcha.
He needs 6, and
he gets it.
And he got it. Even though he came on the nose, that could have been a disaster.
So it's a 217 for Jeremy Zimmerman. Going to be enough to win here as Andy Rettig's streak of not only high scores, but 3 consecutive wins will come to an end. And it was a little narrow, a little harrowing down the stretch there, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And this is, if Andy goes out, it'll only be a 4-pin victory. So wasn't a whole lot of room to make for error.
So a clutch performance there in the 10th frame by Jeremy, getting what he needed to get in order to get himself the win. As you look at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, with that final score posted, going to be enough to win for Jeremy Zimmerman. So he will get a chance to move on. And the kid from Lockport will get a chance to bowl at Brad Angelo Lanes in Lockport in 2 weeks.
It'll be a short drive for him next week.
Short drive is right. And Andy will throw one more here to finish off and post up the final score.
213 to 217.
You said it, Jim. It was a narrow victory, but a victory nonetheless, and an exchange between Andy and Jeremy, but it's Jeremy Zimmerman who comes up with the win. We'll talk to both guys and wrap up this week's stay here at Manor Lanes II when Beat the Champ returns right after this. It's a narrow 4-pin win for Jeremy Zimmerman over Andy Rettig. Your nice little run of 3 in a row there comes to an end, but you bowled very well. Give me a sense on how this all felt for you.
Oh, it felt great. Got to thank the proprietors, just as Mr. Masiello did there. I mean, appreciate you guys doing everything, Jim. Thanks. And I had a lot of fun.
And take me through that amazing split that you pulled off in this last match.
I was just hoping to get lucky. I knew I needed to make it to have a chance, and it worked out.
All right, Jim?
Well, we've got a nice little sum for you to take home with you in your first effort here. And hopefully you'll be back soon, and we'll give you some more envelopes.
I'm going to see if I can qualify first and take Jeremy out next month.
There you go, and get the big screen TV.
All right. There you go.
Rematch, that would be kind of fun.
Absolutely.
A rematch would be kind of fun, wouldn't it, Sue?
We had that happen once, right?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. So maybe you can come back and get your revenge.
I'll try.
Absolutely.
Jeremy got that monkey off your back, got that first win in finally, right?
Absolutely.
Now you get to go home and be the defending champion in Lockport. How's that feeling for you?
I'm speechless. It feels surreal.
You're speechless.
Finally. No, twice I tried to give it away there, and to finally actually get a break. And even after we made that split, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" It just feels so great to actually win. Now I know what these guys all feel like.
Well, I don't know if you heard it, but I started talking about your son Mason.
My world.
And right after I did that, you started bowling a little bit better. So I think as I give you this envelope, I think maybe you stop at Toys R Us, buy Mason something nice.
Agree.
How's that?
Thank you.
All right, well, good. Feel good stories all around here. Good win for Jeremy. We're going to see him in 2 weeks. Pretty good chance we might see Andy as well, too. Sue and I come back to wrap it up from here at Manor Lanes II in Amherst. Well, next week here on Beat the Champ, we turn it over to the high schoolers for their challenge. But boy, the big shots made us proud here over the last 3 weeks. We saw some amazing scores, close matches, our first perfect game, incredible splits. I mean, you name it, we had it all here at Manor 2.
Yeah, it was just a perfect scoring condition, just a perfect scenario for great stories.
Yeah, and more great stories to come as Beat the Champ moves on to the other cool bowling houses around Western New York. You had to have fun as well too, if not some of your easiest scorekeeping of this show.
Oh, definitely. I mean, as I say, it always helps when the bowlers get lots of strikes, but it's really been coming down to the wire in the 10th frame lately, and that's awesome. That's definitely what we want to see here.
High scores, close matches, good stories. We've had it all. We're going to continue to have it all. Make sure you join us for the high school challenge next week. 2 weeks, Jeremy Zimmerman comes back at Brad Angelo Lanes. We got it all going on here on Beat the Champ. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.